Bolivia is a colourful land of passionate, joyous and diverse people. A unique territory in its contrasts, both geographical and cultural. From ancestral customs and a Jesuit missionary legacy to the complex political and social challenges of today. A mixture of animated and jubilant customs, rites, and a resilient faith shape the people of this place and builds their identity day by day. Although in recent years Bolivia ranks amongst the region's fastest growing economies, the reality is that far from the large urban centres, development is negligible. As if frozen in time, the landscape of the town of Tortura reveals the isolated reality of its inhabitants. Economic difficulties abound, employment and training opportunities remain scarce. In this context, with its sights fixed on hope and charity, the local church dedicates itself to serving children in the communities that surround the town.
It is a complex reality. These are children who come from fairly dysfunctional families, children that do not receive much support from their parents. If there were no boarding school, they would leave them to work in their field, taking care of the goats or taking care of the cowshed, or doing other things except studying.
The boarding schools were created in response to a need of the population. Many people in the countryside do not have the possibility of owning a townhouse, and thereby access to better education.
We mainly help them here with their education. The things that one should learn at home. We teach them to be clean, to be neat, to study, and we sometimes even also work in the garden.
We get up at 6, and by 7 we have eaten our breakfast. From 6 to 7, we also do the house chores that we have to do. And at 7, we go to school. Afterwards, we eat, do our homework, crafts, and we go to sleep at 9.
Of course, it is at first hard for them, because they come from the countryside and are not used to living like this. Everything ordered, clean, and run according to a timetable. It is very difficult for some, especially those who do not speak Spanish. They first learn Spanish here, and then they adapt to the environment. It is difficult for them, but most are content to have been given the opportunity to study and are happy here. They help us do our difficult homework. And if we do not have homework, they give us other things to do to keep us learning. We reinforce their reading and writing abilities here, which are very poor, as well as mathematics and Spanish, because language difficulties inhibit understanding. So we support them a lot in this area to improve their learning skills.
The more able children help the less able ones to understand. There are others whom we have to help with everything, though, because they haven't had the upbringing, good manners, and all such things. We sometimes even have to teach them to wash their clothes, to clean themselves, all of that. Yes, we try to help them and support them. On many occasions, children who have already left come back to express their gratitude for the help they had received in the boarding school. They are grateful, very grateful, even for the occasional scolding. They appreciate all the help they received at the boarding school.
First, I did not want to stay. Then I got used to it. Now I don't want to leave.
So it is for us a response to a need and an opportunity to provide a formation as well as evangelization. Naturally, we don't force them, but we do ask them to participate in all the activities that we run here.
We try to help them develop values that will encourage them to love their faith. In turn, they learn to live by them as the Church asks of us. They welcome this formation. We also see to it that they are baptized and receive all the sacraments.
As of today, we have 15 boarding schools. We also have healthcare centers and, whenever possible, hospitals. When we go out to the communities, we try to help with medicines, sometimes with the food that we bring. But yes, we are limited by our financial resources, because unfortunately, we do not receive any support from the government. What we have to do is to seek help from the faithful as well as from other institutions. More especially, and to keep up the social work, we have to look to financial institutions abroad, especially church institutions, such as Aid to the Church in Need.
Because of the hardships of rural life, villagers migrate to the city in search of better opportunities. This phenomenon has been so marked in Bolivia that it has led to major demographic shifts to the major cities, indeed to a growth that has resulted in a planning chaos that is difficult to manage. The Church endeavors to help by working with the authorities.
Family migration from the countryside is a phenomenon of the last 15 to 20 years. It is very difficult for many families as they encounter a new reality. Many find it difficult to adapt to city life. This is a great challenge for the Church and an opportunity as we try to accompany them on their chosen path. There is a lot of migration to the city. Cochabamba is a synthesis of all of Bolivia. The greatest challenge comes from the enormous diversity, as well as something that is characteristic of this city and also unique in Bolivia, and that is the very strong religious presence.
The work that priests and nuns carry out in the different parishes is done with great energy in numerous, very disadvantaged areas. There are many neighborhoods that do not have water, electricity, or sewage. People live in very poor conditions.
The religious community is essential for us in Cochabamba. For the characteristics of consecrated men and women is the joy they bring, as well as an understanding of the deeper meaning of life.
Welcome to the brave OTB, founded on May 8, 1990. This is the San Antonio de Buenavista neighborhood. That's why this little chapel is called San Antonio. We Salesian missionary sisters run the church and the little chapel. Every Sunday at 4 in the afternoon, we get together. We have our meeting of missionary children, communion, confirmation, and at 6 in the afternoon, we celebrate the Eucharist. The charisma of the Salesian missionaries is to facilitate the experience of God for others, especially for young people. They are at an age where everything changes, a time of decisions, an age of confusion, during which they need to be accompanied. Many young people come with many wounds and try to cover them up because who speaks of love today? Who speaks of affection? Who listens to their stories? Who speaks of reconciliation? They might say, I hate my father, I hate my brother. And these are childhood wounds that they keep. They are often confused, having to deal with much noise, many voices, many options. And women who all of a sudden might lose their dignity rush in search of love because they cannot find it at home. We are in a neighborhood where there are many suicides. Many young people take their lives because they cannot find meaning. We want to reach out to those young people.
We do this work of healing, of accompanying, of reinforcing, even of valuing who they themselves are, because these young people sometimes feel much diminished, or that they are alone in the world. And the other part has to do with reconciliation, with their parents, with their brothers, or with those people who have hurt them. And this is very important for us, because they thereby remain attached to their families, and even if later they learn a profession, they remain rooted in their family.
Our dream is that many, many young people would walk around here with a smile on their face. And we also dream that we would transmit to those who approach us the meaning of life that we have found. This hidden treasure.
Today, the greatest pastoral challenge in the big cities is the Church's ability to show its solidarity with the people by appreciating their needs and being close to them. In order to achieve this and to evangelize, material assistance to the most needy becomes a priority.
Uno evangeliza promoviendo.
One evangelizes by helping, and helping one evangelizes. Because, as the saying goes, in an empty stomach, the gospel doesn't easily enter. With the current government, and due to the economic boom that has occurred, thanks to gas and other natural resources, poverty has been reduced. But there are still a good number of Bolivians who live in extreme poverty.
Hay mejores caminos, hay mejores escuelas.
There are better roads, better schools, and there are many new constructions. But there is still a lot of poverty. We can see it with the soup kitchens, whenever more people come to ask us for their daily bread. We are particularly grateful to Aid to the Church in Need, which works with us in a joint effort to reduce need and care for the poor, to be with them.
We are the Bolivian congregation of the Cross Missionaries of the Church. This is the first house that our founder mother created. She organized the soup kitchen called the Pot of the Poor. All those unable to feed themselves come here for a meal. They come here to have some food. Up to 200 people come here, poor people without any resources. Anybody can come in. We do not say you are not from here. They fill up the 2 dining rooms, and yet more sit here in the yard. We have no more space for them anywhere else. When they come, we pray together, and then we serve them. And on feast days, we give them the best we have. We do everything possible so that they leave happy and satisfied.
Pope Francis said, "If we want to help change history and promote real development, we need to hear the cry of the poor and commit ourselves to ending their marginalization." The Bolivian Church, having heard the Holy Father's call, has wholeheartedly adopted this mission, offering the renewing power of God's gospel to transform the region's hardest realities in a concrete way.
Los sacerdotes, gracias a Dios, se acercan a la población.
The priest, thank God, go out to the people to learn about their needs, and through different projects, tend to these people's basic needs.
Creemos que
We believe that we don't have to do so many missions, but to be missionaries. I believe that is what our young people need. That is what we have to do, to use Jesus of Nazareth's method in our pastoral work with young people.
¿Cómo están? Bien. ¿Quién les visita? Nuestro papá. ¿Y qué se llama su papá? ¿Qué?
estos jóvenes han perdido la libertad.
These young men have lost their freedom and have ended up in prison. They were caught working as what we call mules, which means carrying drugs.
Uy, a este paso me van a pedir confesión. Muy serios están.
I learned many things here. Father Pedro came here and taught us a lot. I didn't even know how to pray the rosary. Father Pedro taught me. They talked to me like the catechist. Honestly, the life that each of us have is to learn from the mistakes that we have made and not to fall again. And if we fall, to get up.
Pero yo pienso que
I remember what St. John Bosco said one day. If this young man had been accompanied, supported, had had a father, a friend, what happened to him might not have happened to him.
Y la bendición de Dios Todopoderoso, Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo, descienda sobre ustedes y les acompañe ahora y siempre.
I do not have a dad. When I was born, he was almost never with me. He was always on a trip. And so I just grew up with my mother. But Father Pedro and the Reverend taught me what a father is like. They gave me good advice. When I needed advice or something, they were always there for me. When they came, I could talk to them about my problems. And they always told me what to do, and things like that.
este es el desafío que nos dio.
This is the challenge that Jesus of Nazareth, resurrected, left us. We find it in Luke chapter 24. Jesus stands in their midst, listens to them, walks by their side, and once he has heard their problems, he quotes the scriptures, God's promise, the joy of also being resurrected like him. And so, accompanied, they recognized him in the breaking of the bread.
La necesidad económica ha hecho
The economic needs have forced many Bolivians, not only from our region, but also from the many towns and cities all over the country, to migrate to neighboring countries, mainly to Argentina, Chile, and Brazil, lately more to Chile, but there are many Bolivians in the United States, and now also in Europe.
prácticamente la gente se...
People are losing their culture and their roots because of their search for daily bread. Many people are emigrating, especially from our diocese, but also from other Latin American countries, and going to the neighboring Republic of Chile. They really need help, and we aim to provide it, little by little.
In recent years, migratory work and the reality of our migrant brothers and sisters has become very painful. Leaving your country is never easy, and it is worse when you leave in uncertain situations.
My name is Esther. I'm 44 years old. I have 4 children who depend on me. I am a mother and a father to them, and therefore, I am always struggling for them. Everything I do is for my children.
Almost 95% are Colombians. When I hear that they have not slept in a bed for 8 days and are without food, well, that is shocking.
Take a bus to the border with Ecuador. From Ecuador, we go to Peru. From Peru, we go to Desaguadero in Bolivia. We are all looking for economic improvement for ourselves and for our relatives. Currently, that is not possible in Colombia, but maybe in Chile it is.
We are currently in Pisiga, on the border between Bolivia and Chile. This is the Being at the Border mission, located at 3,900 meters above sea level.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Sí, no sé si estés ahí. ¿Ahorita que estamos en el camino?
Cuando ellos llegan a casa, lo primero muertos de frío.
When they arrive at the house, they are freezing. Sometimes they feel like dying because the altitude is very distressing, right?
We are welcomed here by the nuns. At the border, they say that nobody from Colombia crosses the border. You can't get a visa stamp, and so on and so forth.
So the first thing we do, we give them hot tea, and once they get a little bit warmed up, we offer them food. We show them they can rest, and we talk to them to learn about their situation.
The nuns do not know who might be on the other side of the door, and yet they open the door. They ask you 2 or 3 questions, and you're in. And then they take you to your bed and offer you food, shelter, and that's a blessing. These women are truly a blessing.
They say, "Sister, this is a luxury hotel for us. They can take a shower here, they can wash their clothes. They couldn't do that before." And we also have to offer encouragement. It hurts to see when Colombians, especially those of color, feel rejected by their race, as if they were second-class citizens. I dream that one day that will end. Indeed, there are dangers, and we have to be very careful and cautious. Apply all the essential security precautions. Before the sisters' arrival, Pisiga was a no-man's land. Many Colombian women were sexually exploited. They had no place to go. And that cry for help, of pain, of despair, of loneliness, are the reasons why this home is here. The police of Chile, the PDI, often treat them badly. But in spite of the risks, we accompany them. Because they also say, "Sister, your presence gives us strength." If you could see the other side, it makes you cry. They can't even believe it themselves. Even men break down in tears. That is our job at the border.
La promoción humana es parte integral de la evangelización.
Human development is an integral part of evangelization. Pope Paul VI told us this in Evangelii Nuntiandi. Human development is thus itself a means of evangelizing. God wants man to live life with dignity, to live as his true image and likeness to man's. Commitment to the poor is a commitment to defend the image of God in our brothers and sisters. an image that is often a broken one, trampled upon, difficult to live with. Therefore, to commit ourselves to the poor is a commitment to the image of God, to Christ's presence.
We thank God that people feel that a priest is a physician of souls, and not only of souls, but also a doctor who can help, as a first aid friend, who supports families, supports the individual person, and is always prepared to reach out to others.
These are not two different things, for it is a way of announcing the gospel, commitment to our marginalized brothers and sisters, the victims, using Pope Francis' words. And we must acknowledge this, that the poor are not poor by chance or because they were born poor. Rather, they are poor because someone has become rich.
Muchos de los proyectos que tiene la Iglesia de Bolivia en la evangelización y en la promoción humana.
Many of the Bolivian church's evangelization and human promotion projects would not be possible without the generous support of many donors who offer the fruits of their labors so that we can care for children in homes and catechize young people so that we can build chapels of worship and promote the Christian way of life. And for that, may the Lord bless you. Thank you for your help. And remember what the gospel proclaims. God loves those who give generously and with joy, and in his goodness will reward your generosity not twofold, but 100-fold.